Thank you. I'm going to start for both of us by reading a couple of sections of the essay. The essay it's a block of words. It's something over 4,000 words. And I wanted to break it up and give people a way to dip into it. And so I separated sections of it with little quotes. And I'm going to read a couple of those sections. I do want to say I'm getting a little importantly self-conscious writing these art essays for Little Patuxent Review, because a few years ago when I wrote about Lania D'Agostino, Donald Trump won the election the night that I interviewed Lania. And then last time when I wrote about Catherine Zulan-Man, we separated. I went off to write the essay as we went into quarantine. And with the start of interviewing Fahimeh here, the Ukraine-Russia war broke out. So I've got a little bit of a complex with these things. Here we go. This is from the essay in the issue on Fahimeh Vahdat. Some of the quotes are hers, some of the quotes are other people. The first one quote is from Fahimeh. My work has always centered around healing. While I read this, I'm going to loop images of her work, some of which I talk about, others of which are just are her work. So you get an idea beyond what's in the issue of her art. You see her art on the screen at the moment? Okay, so here we go. My work is always centered around healing, Fahimeh Vahdat. It is a few years ago in the before times when we have come to call the pre-pandemic, and I am standing at the Rouse Company Gallery at Howard Community College in Columbia, Maryland, looking at the work of Iranian-American artist Fahimeh Vahdat. The show is titled From the Freedom Series, Stars, Circles, and Women, a multimedia exhibition. I believe it is my first introduction to her art. The gallery is filled with a density of work that feels like an embrace, a hug of shapes, colors, objects, and textures. The gallery itself is curve-shaped and bends in and around, hiding from afar much of what's inside. But the bright rectangular pieces are inviting, demand attention, and I moved into it, thinking so. This show had the draw of a safe space, a haven. There's a tapestry piece on one wall toward a corner, paintings around it. The paintings are bright, large expanses of color. Some contain simple shapes, maybe centered, circles, a star. A piece of calligraphy-like sculpture swirls from the ceiling. Persian lettering dangling from strings shifts as the air moves. Directly below, a divided circle platform rests on the floor. Maybe not a platform. It might be a tabletop, but with no legs. Patterns and writing on it. Maybe the words above repeated. On the curving wall to the right, there is a spilling arrangement of circle, star, and flower-like shapes, set in a floor-to-ceiling flow that moves with the viewer's eyes with its energy. I'm comfortable here, and I take in the whole as if it is one piece, but it is many. In every direction, there is a mastery of material, different materials too. A collage of skill and purpose, textile work, printing, painting, and other techniques are easily recognized in the two-dimensional work. The textiles strike one as both 2- and 3-dimensional pieces, as there is layering. In one instance, filament netting holds photos and printed paper in place over a background of another piece of material. Placards around the room identify name and explain pieces. As I step closer to individual works, I learned there is a lot more here than quickly meets the eye. There's a complexity to the pattern. Spaces appear as do images within images, layering in elements of detail. From across the room, I might walk up to a flower and realize its parts are made of lettering. There's a network of language, a voice that begins speaking through these pieces. Soft song, witness, prayer, it's collective, human, and hopeful. The meaning and intensity of a visual image is available to all. Fahimeh Vahdat. Vahdat's studio is on the lower floor of her home in Columbia, Maryland. It is where her work is stored when not on display in galleries. It feels hidden away, and it is, mostly in storage containers or carefully rolled or folded, wrapped in plastic and set in wonderful trunks. Other pieces are stacked on shelves and tables. Her 6-foot canvases stand against one wall, a powerful presence. Canvas tapestry line another wall. We stop and talk in front of one. An image of a woman centered on a background of green. It's floor to ceiling. It is floor to ceiling and then some. A few feet of canvas are folded at space. Vahdat pauses to unfold the piece and lay the material forward into the room so the whole piece can be taken in. The work is from the Colors of Violence series, a number of 13-foot-tall tapestry-like pieces that use colors a body goes through during the process of healing from a wound as a key component. We have all watched our own incidental bruising shift from red through blues, browns, greens, toward recovery and healing. Here, the colors are overwhelming, hand-dyed into a background layer of canvas that towers over the viewer. One is steeped in hue, standing in front of it, the bruise, the violence that caused it, the energy of healing, overwhelming. The woman at the center of the piece looks down with an inward, intense stare. There is a drapery of green and black gauze over the piece, a pattern of lacing, fastening it to the top of the canvas to the top. At the top, it drapes all the way to the floor and over the canvas. And covers a few feet of the floor and into the room. At the very base of the canvas, hands are drawn into the material as if someone were kneeling just out of the image, praying in front of the piece. It is a lot to take in. It is so well crafted that one figures it is a work of art that one forgets it is a work of art and takes it in as an entity in itself. With the slightest movement of air, it almost breathes with the fabric slight moving. In that quiet respiration, one feels healing at work and imagines the effect the series would have around the space of the gallery dedicated to its presentation. In this piece and in many, the woman pictured could be anyone. In many other pieces, particular women are incorporated and can be recognized. A painting on a nearby wall is an example. From the distance, a bright blue hue with a red circle look centered in the piece. The blue covers the 6-foot canvas and within the circle, drawn in vibrant red paint and clashing with blue, is a petal-like lacework that surrounds a smaller circle of yellow. Within the yellow, there is a photograph of a person, a woman on closer look, who appears to be meditating. As you look at the center of this piece, the blue and the red start to pulse, the red taking on a capillary-like presence. This is intended. The woman whose image is at the heart of the piece is Homa Darabi, an Iranian pediatrician who, in an act of protest against all women in Iran being forced to wear hijabs, lit herself on fire and died from the wounds in self-immolation, an ultimate form of individual protest. The decorative look of the piece shatters when you learn this, shifting into a work of prayer and monument. There are so many such faces looking out from Vahdat's work, wanting recognition, a story told, compassion, and understanding. An artist wears their work in place of wounds, Patti Smith. In 2011, Vahdat participated in a program of the Milwaukee Artists and Research Network that paired established artist mentors with younger artist mentees for a year, culminating in a group show in a public space. That year, the show, celebrating the year of artistic development for the younger artist, was held in a multi-use space of Milwaukee's International Hotel. Mentors and mentees each selected works to share. The piece Vahdat selected was from the Freedom series entitled A Prison Called Iran. Prisons and the torture and abandonment of prisoners is another important theme in Vahdat's work. The work features the contour drawings of a nude woman behind prison bars, her arms in supplication. The title of the work is written over and over in red ink as a background to the image. On the lower half of the work, another 10-foot tall tapestry-like piece, there is a growth of stylized flowers, a symbolic sense of beauty and organic growth, of freedom. A layer of red glazed fabric hangs in front of the image. Gallery management shared that the work was not suitable for the show, its nudity too much a risk for the business to have in a public space. Rather than succumb to the censorship, Vahdat used the opportunity to develop the work and deepen its message through an act of performance and protest. Simply and powerfully, she turned the work around to face the wall for the duration of the exhibit. At the opening reception of the exhibition, dressed in black, she put on a veil, took off her shoes, and slowly moved toward the painting, where she stood and faced the piece in silence as an act of defiance. She shares that in front of the piece, it was as if she was entering the prison herself, the prison where the archetypal woman stood inside a cell. In her case, she faced an imprisoning wall of censorship. The pain of being muzzled, silent, was loud and clear. Vahdat's work is often considered not suitable for exhibits by curators as it is seen as as too poignant, too direct, too confrontational, and not for their public's eye. Curators often shy away from an important responsibility, that of giving it a place to be seen and engaged with, deciding to share instead the safer work of others. Vahdat is particularly impassioned about violence against women and girls, not just that of the third world. Stop and talk to her, and it will likely not be long before she quotes statistics of domestic violence in the United States. Her work is an effort to move away the curtains or veils that hide such everyday suffering and pain, bringing issues to light in hope of healing. It is important work, work that needs to be seen, comprehended, internalized, and discussed, and acted upon. We, forgive us, lived happily during the war. Ilya Kaminsky. As I write this essay, the world sees yet another war. Russia has invaded Ukraine and cities are under siege. Every day is a massacre. Power using the innocent to make some point. Millions have fled the country as refugees. They can be counted. Within the war zone, the dead await their moment of recognition and burial and remain mostly uncounted. One indelible image from the war comes from the day a children's hospital and maternity ward were bombed. It is an image of a pregnant woman being stretchered away from the ruin, a gash visible from the explosion in her thigh. We later learn she died, as did her baby, innocent victims of mad power and needless violence. Vahdat is already turning this new horror over in her mind. Inevitably, she will use her craft as an artist to mourn the dead, to recognize and give voice to the hurting. The suffering of others on this great planet, the suffering of others on this planet is great. We should work, all of us, for a better, more equal world. Vahdat's body of work calls that to attention, demanding us to do something about it.
Thank you so much, Tim.
Sure, I've lost my cursor, so I can't. There we go. Have I stopped sharing?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So now we should bring Fahimeh on in.
Yes, please.
Just this week, Fahimeh shared the news that she is one of this year's Baker Artist finalists. Undue recognition, and we hope that she becomes one of their final finalists, and even in her category, reaping all the rewards of that recognition. I also have learned that she has a work of art up at CCBC, or about to be up, and then kind of in a moment of poetic victory, she has, through Maryland Art Place, a work installed at Indigo Hotel in Baltimore. So take that, Milwaukee. So Fahimeh, thank you very much for your work and for the honor of being able to talk to you about it and learn from it. I almost don't know where to start. It was mind-boggling that we entered the Ukraine war as we were starting to talk about this. And I mean, there were so many parallels that I saw in that war to your work. And I could sense that you were, as we talked, reliving old wounds. And then, as we talked about your art and saw that, I get to see and experience how, what you really do with this work of building monuments to these past people. I'm like trying to read comments as I'm talking. You mentioned that, the essay goes on to talk about you being a professor, and the school year is dedicated to your students. And as you can sort of tell by Fahimeh's attention to responding to writers here, that she is really about other people and commenting and guiding and nurturing other people. Now that the semester is done and that the summer begins, your period in your own studio, what do you have on the agenda?
Thank you so much, Tim, for inviting me to be part of your journey of pulling this body of work that seems from ages that comes together. You have pulled them together. And thank you, Chelsea, for being there to support and allowing Tim and me be part of this amazing magazine, this amazing group of people. I'm really honored to be part of this. It is heartbreaking to be at this juncture together as group of creative people when we have so many mass shooting going on, and especially the lives of children, innocent children, was taken away just not even 2 weeks ago, and the wound is so fresh in our heart and mind, and reminds us of so much violence that is continuously going on around us, around in this US of A, the country that symbolizes freedom to all around the world look up to USA. And growing up in Iran, that's how I was always, wishing that I would become part of that. And of course, unknowingly, I had to flee and become refugee and become part of this amazing culture and society. But to give as a professor and also as an artist, it has been such an honor for me to bring what I think it's so important, which is awareness of these atrocities and these power structure that allows violence against people, against women, against children, against young girls, continues against the people of color. And again, I have been working with all sorts of issues, everything that deals with human condition and celebrates the resiliency of us as human. Doesn't matter who we are and where we come from and what color skin we are, what sexual orientation we have, or any of these agendas that have put on us as human beings, that separates us, that wants to cause conflicts. And my goal has been to bring to look at the positive and to bring awareness through education, through the artwork, through the discussion, and of course through people like Tim, who has looked beyond what was hung on the walls or on the floors and so forth. And for 4 years, he has been looking into this whole idea, I'm sure, that he finally decided to write about my work and bring the work to the forefront. As he mentioned, a lot of people in curatorial, settings don't show my work. And I was very, very thrilled and really amazed that my work is part of the finalists for Baker's Artist Awards, which is a very prestigious award. And honestly, I was really amazed. I didn't expect that because of the kind of work I do, but also while we are reviewing this, the war in Ukraine, the people suffering, the destruction that is continuously happening, and the sheer number of people losing their lives and being displaced. I know right offhand how displacement feels and is. It's such a long process to move from one place to another and to another and to another, so many places, in order to be accepted in one country and become part of that country and start being able to give and to share what you have, as a newcomer. But it takes time, and it has its a lot going on with that. So people of Ukraine right now, many millions are displaced, and they are looking for that acceptance, that place that they can call home someday. And I have been lucky, and I always have been thankful, despite the, of course, prejudices and misunderstanding happens, and it's there. And that's why we, as creative people, needs to be the voice of the voice that can be heard, an open dialogue for that. The only, if I may say one more thing, is that I am continuing, of course, to the kind of work I have been doing throughout over 25 years. And I see now that I am older and I'm seeing the thread that goes through the body of work, it just makes me thankful for insisting in what I thought it's important and is important, rather than seeking out galleries and this or that to adjust my work to those. Always have stayed honest and true with who I am, and that integrity as an artist I teach to my students and to mentors that I work with, mentees that I work with. I just want to say, let's not forget domestic violence. It's pandemic. It's huge. It passes through time and space and race and culture and status and so forth, age, everything. So we want to be aware of that. We want to acknowledge and be mindful, seeing if these happening. A lot of time, that's why my work wails all the time, because domestic violence is always, it has a way of being covered up and pushed away and not being important aspect of everyday ills of society that we need to face and deal with, to be honest with this issue, which is, as I said, it's the mental, physical, emotional pandemic that is going on around the world, and also the women and young girls of Afghanistan and other places like Iran and Pakistan and other countries that are being sold for marriage, that they call it marriage. It's the crime that is taking place in front of our eyes. And if we close our eyes and turn around and say, well, it's happening somewhere else, then it's not our problem. And moving, just like the war in Ukraine is becoming more and more of a norm. The gun violence in US is becoming of a norm, and being accepted that, oh, another shooting is happening, oh, another shooting. And therefore move on with our daily lives. So as creative people, I think that's our role, that's our job.
Fahimeh, one of the quotes from the essay, Maxine Hong Kong Kingston's message, and I think it pertains to this group in particular because we are the creative group: in time of destruction, create something. And then I think Chelsea wants us to go to break, so maybe that's a good stepping off point. And we can chat with people in the chat during break. But thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your support. I appreciate that.